presentation? Yeah. Are you able to see this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. This is what we were trying to discuss. We'll say that knowledge generation is the process of research, and now basically we are trying to make some generalization, which is a declarative form of knowledge, and it can be in the causal form or in the correlational form, right? This is what we have done so far. Let me quickly go through a few things which are of the first session, then I come to the second. You know that there are different types of research. You are all aware that the research can be classified into quantitative research, qualitative research. Research can also be classified into fundamental research, applied research, and action research. So there are different ways of classifying. In any relationship, a researcher would study one or the other variables, right? And what is a variable actually? What do we mean by variable? Yes.
Never change.
A variable is that which
change.
which changes, right? Which changes its value.
Value. Yes.
Yeah. Which changes its
Variables.
value.
Values.
Yeah. What is the opposite of variable?
Constant. Constants.
Constant. That is something which doesn't change.
Change at
It's a
all.
constant.
Change.
And we are not studying any constant. We are studying variables. And variables, you know, that can be classified into so many ways. One of the ways is continuous and discrete. Continuous variable can have any value. Whereas a discrete variable will have gaps between values. When you measure that variable, there will be gaps between values. For example, 1 and 2.
Sequence and series may be a continuous value.
Yeah.
Sequences may be a continuous values.
Correct.
Lies between the two values 0 and 1 is a discrete value.
Yeah, discrete value can have only the round
Lies
figures
between
1, 2, 3, 4. But in between there is nothing. You cannot imagine a value in between. Like for example, the size of the family. Size of the family can be 3, 4, 5. It cannot be 3.5. It cannot be 3.75. Similarly, the number of runs scored by a cricketer, it will be always in round numbers. There will not be decimals. Whereas a continuous variable is one where you can think of decimal values also. You can have values which are continuously present over a scale. And that is what is one kind of classification. Other classification is dependent, independent variable. An independent variable and a dependent variable. What is the meaning of these two? What is a dependent variable? Nagaraj sir?
It shows an effect on the other variables, sir.
Correct. An independent variable is a causal variable and it causes some effect.
Yes.
It shows its effect on some other variable. Whereas the variable on which it is showing its effect is the dependent variable. Say, for example, in the snake venom study, what is the independent variable and what is the dependent variable?
The amount of secretion.
Yeah,
amount of secretion.
Yeah, amount of secretion or the extract, plant extract is the independent variable which has an effect on toxicity, which is a dependent variable. So that is how we think of. There can be also intervening confounding variables, and we are not interested in studying the confounding variables or intervening variables. We are interested in studying the relationship between independent and dependent variables, right? So there are more than one ways of classifying variables. Let me come to this classification of studies into qualitative and quantitative. Suppose we want to describe something, we want to explain something, we are using language, we are using words to explain it. That becomes a description. And such studies are called descriptive studies, descriptive researches. Like we are explaining something, like for example, the if you are studying the culture, or in the anthropology, for example, if you are studying the marriage procedure, or the marriage practice in a certain community, you are describing it. You are not measuring it. You are describing it. How is it done? So that kind of study is basically a descriptive study. Whereas the other, which is quantitative research, is inferential by nature. We want to infer based on a certain set of data. We want to show that this is the effect, or this is what is the value of the dependent variable. Inference involves establishing the probability of occurrence, to what extent it will be. Like, for example, when you say there is a moderate relationship between mental health and academic achievement, you are, speaking in terms of probability, right? There is 0.3% probability or 30% probability that these two variables are connected. These two variables are related to one another. Or there is 70% probability. 0.7 is the value in terms of correlational coefficient. You are actually expressing in terms of probability of that occurrence. How are they different? One is the purpose is different. In qualitative research, we are trying to answer why questions. Why is something happening? Whereas in the quantitative research, we are answering how much, how many. It is in numbers. So that becomes quantitative. Whereas in the other one, in the qualitative study, the data is in the form of words, in the form of symbols, in the form of observations that the researcher has done. Whereas in the quantitative research, it is in terms of numbers or statistical results, t-value, f-value, chi-square value. So it is in terms of statistical result. The approach is observe and interpret. In qualitative research, you are making observations, you are interpreting the observation, hence you are using language, hence you are using words. Whereas in the quantitative research, you are measuring. You will have a tool, you will use a test, you measure, and that is quantitative. Whereas in analysis part of the qualitative research, we are grouping common data. We are actually classifying data into groups. It is non-statistical in nature, whereas in the quantitative research, we are employing statistical analysis. So there is a difference between the qualitative and quantitative research, even though both of them are trying to establish some generalization. Both of them are trying to create knowledge. Still, there is a difference in the method that they use, in the very purpose for which they are done, etc. Let me come to this scientific, what is the process of scientific inquiry? You know that how research is done is in a sequential manner. We are identifying an observation that cannot immediately be explained. We are identifying that, and we want to study that. We will collect existing knowledge about the observation and formulate potential explanation. That means we are doing literature survey. We are doing review of related literature and trying to collect that knowledge which exists already. And we are trying to, generate our own hypothesis, our own research questions through the literature review. Then we are selecting a seemingly most likely, but so far unproved explanation. And we want to test that. The design is the next step, where we are experimental designs we are using, execute carefully controlled lab experiments, computational experiments to test hypothesis. And once the testing is done, the test results support the hypothesis, then new insight is gained, new knowledge is created. Whereas if it is no, that the hypothesis is not accepted, we are going back to find out another explanation. What might be the other reason to explain this phenomenon? This is the kind of sequence which a researcher follows. Now let me stop this presentation and come to my other presentation. Just a minute. I will stop share and I will come to the other. Where is that? Let me just check where it is. Yeah. Okay. Now, I hope you are seeing this. strengthening research in higher education institutions, the process of research. This is what is the theme of our second session. This was the sequence which I said a researcher follows. You know that each stage is important in its own way. There is no one stage which is less important than the other. Like, for example, the way we identify the topic is important. The way we explain the existing knowledge is important. The way we formulate our design is important. And the way we analyze the data and come out with findings is also important. So all these steps are important and we have to take care. Why I'm telling you all this is that there are some situations where we do commit mistake. We do commit errors in that stage, which sometimes is called a common mistake which a researcher commits. We'll try to, look into those mistakes, try to see what is the reason behind it, and also how this research can be strengthened further, how it can be made more impactful, more appropriate. Selection of the topic. We have already discussed how we selected the topic. Most of the time it is the specialization of research area of the guide or the department, and the guide, if he or she is working in a certain area, the student also wants to work in the same area, because then the student can get better guidance. Then the student can get more insights into this theme. Otherwise, many a time a guide may say, no, I have my specialization, but doesn't matter. You try to find out your own topic. You are free to do research on any topic of your interest. That is what happens. Some topics do not really require conducting research. When we select, when we give that kind of a freedom to a student, the student may come up with a topic which really does not require research. Have you come across any such topics? Are there any such topics which you think, okay, it doesn't require any research, What do you think? Jayana sir? Jayana sir, can you think of some topic which really doesn't require a research to prove it or disprove it?
Sir, once again. Sir,
Are there any such topics of research which students do select which do not require research? Yes?
Some topic do not really require conduct research ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರಲ್ಲ ಸರ್.
ಹೌದು. ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಬೇಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ. ಆ ತರ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಗಳನ್ನು ಸೆಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡ್ತಾರೆ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್.
ಹೌದೌದು, ನಿಜ ಸರ್. ಎಸ್, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಕೆಲವು ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಅನ್ನ ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ದಿನ ಇದ್ದು ಅದನ್ನ ಯಾವ್ದು ಮಾಹಿತಿಗಳು ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಸೋರ್ಸಸ್ ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಕೈ ಬಿಡೋಂಥ ಪ್ರಕರಣಗಳನ್ನ ನಾವು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಗೈಡ್ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸೂಟಬಲ್ ಆಗ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ಸಲಹೆ ಸೂಚನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಆಮೇಲೆ ಬೇರೆ ಇದನ್ನ ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಸರ್. ಅದು ಖಂಡಿತ ನಿಜ ನೀವು ಹೇಳ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. Thank you.
See, there are situations in research where there are already several research studies available. Already several researches have been conducted on this topic. And you don't want to conduct one more study on that. Say, for example, the relationship between intelligence and achievement. So many studies are available, which says that as intelligence is increasing, achievement also is increasing. That is the relationship between these two variables. And a student says, I want to do a research to find out the relationship between intelligence and achievement. You will say, no, it is not required. Already there are so many researches. So this generalization has been made beyond the non-acceptability. It is proved that you don't have to do one more research. Let me show you some topics now. You required doing it or not? Are you able to see the topics? Are you able to see it? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Impact of sleep disorders among IT professionals on their overall health condition. What do you think? Is this study adding knowledge to the existing knowledge? Impact of sleep disorders among IT professionals on their overall health condition. You know that there is no specific time they work
Yes,
or at night time also.
yes, yes, sir.
And what is the impact of that on their overall health condition? A study of this kind. Do you think it is required?
I think there are many articles on this, research
Okay.
have been
Yes,
done.
yes. A student might come up telling that I want to do this.
Yeah.
IT professionals in Bangalore.
Yes,
I want to study, I want to take a few IT professionals and find out their health condition and try to relate these two.
yeah, probably, sir. In this IT professionals, there are different types of work, sir. So based on the work, it can be taken, sir. Like we have got developers are there, then like that we have got different types of works
Yes.
that have been done by the IT professionals. So maybe we can just go.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, this could be taken up.
Yes,
This
sir.
could be
Yes,
taken up. It's possible that
yes,
it
sir.
may add value to the
Sir.
existing knowledge.
yes.
A study of the main sources of marine pollution in Goa. A study of the main sources of marine pollution in Goa. What do you think?
Marine pollution.
Would this add value to the existing knowledge?
Sir, it is
For
obvious
example,
because
I'll
we
tell
can
you
see
from
a lot.
Mysore
I mean,
itself.
people put.
Yeah, Natraj sir.
Yes, sir. ಇದು ಏನು ಅಂಗೈಲಿರೋ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೈಗೆ ಕನ್ನಡಿ ಹಾಕಿದಂಗೆ you can see that it is already there. The people who ever go to, I mean, tourist places, there is so much dirty, so much this one. So
Yeah.
it is obvious, which doesn't require any like additional
Research
proof
for
or
that.
evidence.
Right. It may not really require a research for that. A study of the recent novels of a Marathi writer. A study of the recent novels of a Marathi writer. What do you think? A
Sir,
student
yes, sir.
comes and says that I want to do this research.
ಸರ್ ಎ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಆಫ್ ರೀಸೆಂಟ್ ನಾವೆಲ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಮರಾಠಿ ರೈಟರ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಕನ್ನಡನೂ ಕೂಡ ಇತ್ತೀಚಿನ ಕಾದಂಬರಿಗಳು ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾವಲ್ಲ ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾವು ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು ಮತ್ತೆ ಇತ್ತೀಚೆಗೆ
ಚಂದ್ರಶೇಖರ್
ಒಂದು
ಸರ್ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಲ್ವಾ?
ಏನಂತ
Sir?
ಹೇಳಿ?
ಚಂದ್ರಶೇಖರ್ ಸರ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ದೊಡ್ಡದಾಗಿ ಹೇಳಿ, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಜೋರಾಗಿ ಮಾತಾಡಿ. Chandrasekhar sir.
Yes, sir. There is a need of research on time to time, sir. Because when time changes, this it may also changes.
Yeah. So maybe you are suggesting that instead of saying a particular Marathi writer, you take a certain period, say post 2000. The writers in Marathi in post 2000, what is the kind of area, what is the kind of topics, what is the kind of, theme they are writing on, and is it different from the pre-2000, before 2000 and after 2000? Maybe that kind of a study would add value. A study of the psychological effects of technology addiction. A study of the psychological effects of technology addiction. Addiction to mobile, addiction to games. Does it have a psychological effect? A study of that kind. Would it be required?
Yes, sir, definitely.
Yes.
Because nowadays
it adds
we have
value.
meds.
It definitely adds value. Yes. A study of the reasons of absenteeism among primary school students. A study of the reasons for absenteeism among primary school students. What do you think? Varsha madam is there, no? She is from the field of education.
Yes, sir.
Varsha madam, what do you think? Will this study be required? A study of the reasons for absenteeism among primary school students?
Yes, sir, it is.
The question is this.
Sir, one
Whether-
of the goal of ICDS is to bring down the absenteeism in school, that is midday meal program.
Yes.
Is to bring down these absenteeism and other things, sir. So
Correct.
maybe it is required, sir.
Yes,
That's
sir, it
right.
is required.
Yes, absenteeism was one of the objectives of ICDS to reduce the absenteeism. That
Yes.
means to improve the attendance, school attendance.
Yes.
So that might add value in some situations, definitely. Methods of protecting children from online fraud. Methods of protecting children from online fraud. Children are actually frauded. Yeah. Vasanthi madam.
Absolutely required, sir. Absolutely required.
Vasanthi madam, you can speak. Yes, we are not able to hear you, Vasanthi madam. I think she is saying it is required. That is what I got. She is saying it is required, right? The impact of mandatory yoga education classes on students' health. Mandatory yoga education classes on student health. Does it improve health? Does it not improve health? That is the question.
It is.
Yeah.
It
What do you
is-
think?
Required, sir.
It is
It
required.
is required. It is required. Unless we already have a few studies, it is required, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
you are able to know that what kind of research may be required, what kind of research may be adding value, or what kind of research may not be able to add value to the existing knowledge. Let me come back to my presentation again. So a study of the relationship between intelligence and academic achievement of students, I said, will not be required because there are already so many research studies. The researcher should analyze the topic thoroughly before conducting research on that subject. Like, for example, what Anita madam said is, among the IT professionals, there are different kinds of jobs which IT professionals are doing. IT professionals is a broad term, and they are doing different kinds of work. And she said that we can critically analyze this and find out that particular kind of job which might have more relation with health related effects. So there is a critical analysis of the topic. The researcher has to analyze the topic, maybe has to do a good review. Also understand what are the jobs which IT professionals are doing. So after that, if the topic is finalized, it would be helpful. Need to discuss with other researchers. This is another very important thing in our higher education institutions. In fact, we do have other researchers also in the same department and the same institution, and there are also other guides. So a research student, you must encourage the research student to discuss with other researchers. Not that, see, if I say that my student should not discuss with anybody else, they should not tell what they are doing. Whatever reason I have, but it doesn't add value to the researcher's study. The researcher will benefit if the researcher discusses the topic with others. And you know that in almost all institutions, now it is made mandatory that a researcher should present a seminar or a colloquium before registering. Is that right? Is that correct? That before registering for PhD, the researcher must present the proposal in a seminar or a colloquium. Is that the practice?
Not necessary, sir, but definitely they'll be presenting it for the, to finalize the topics.
Very good. What about somebody from University of Mysore? Would you like to say how is it in Mysore University? Should a research scholar present the topic, present the proposal before a colloquium committee or a seminar? What do you think?
Yes, sir.
Yeah?
Yes, sir. In Mysore University.
Yeah.
Sir,
What is
in
it?
Mysore University, once they select the topic, they have to define about their
Okay.
topic. Why did they choose that topic? And this is called pre-registration colloquium. We call it
Very
this in
good.
Mysore University.
Very good. Very good. Well, pre-registration colloquium.
Pre-registration colloquium.
Yes.
They have to submit the synopsis.
Yeah.
And in front of the BOS members, they have to define about their topic and they have to explain the objectives, why they selected the topic, and what is the outcome, what they are going to identify through that research.
Very good.
ಇದಿಷ್ಟನ್ನು ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಆಗಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮುಂಚೆನೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ they will suggest to change the topic. BOS members.
Good. So you have understood. See that other researchers and other guides, their experience is actually helping the researcher to modify, to fine tune the research topic. And that is another thing we must try to encourage in our institutions. If we want to strengthen research in our institutions, there should be more and more of discussion. It may be that, that encouraging students to write collaborative articles together. You work together on that topic, publish the article, work, as a team. When you discuss with others, your ideas also become validated. When they ask you questions, when they ask you to justify, you also become more clear. That is the reason why this is important.
Sir, even in Davangere University.
Outdatedness of literature. This is another. When we do the research review, what sometimes the research scholars think is that it should be a certain number of pages. The review chapter must have 50 pages. So I will try to find out research studies and try to reach that number. But that is not the way. That is not the way of doing review. Review has to be done of all the research studies which are accessible. Accessible in the library, accessible online. That is what is important. Sometimes what research scholars do, they will depend only on the web, what is online, available online. They will not go to the library. But library work cannot replace reviewing studies which are published online. There are many literature, many books which relate to that topic. So if the researcher wants a proper insight, has to master that topic, then these kinds of extensive reviews will be required. Use internet tools for identifying latest research, literature, and also summarize their findings. You know that there are internet tools available. Do you know any such tool which is available? Any such tool which is available for summarizing research, etc., or rewriting? Any one of you? Have you heard of this one? SciSpace? SciSpace. What I will ask you, if you are using your laptop and if there is internet connection, please go to this SciSpace. I will do it parallelly. I will do along with you. Let me open one more window. Okay. Are you able to see this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we can see.
Yeah, I type here SciSpace. Okay. You can also do it parallelly. See, it is an artificial intelligence tool, AI chat for scientific PDFs. I will, and there is SciSpace, second one. Discover, create, and publish your research paper. I'll click on this. Yeah. Yeah. Are you able to see this? Do hours worth of reading in minutes. Do hours worth of reading in minutes. Literature review, the first one has been put. Ask questions on PDF. Extract data. paraphrase. These are the options available. Discover the literature. I'll try to put one of those. The relationship between what was that mental health and academic achievement. I have put this right, and I am entering. See, it is trying to generate. It is trying to generate now. See, it has given one brief explanation also here. I'll read it out. The relationship between mental health and academic achievement is complex and multifaceted. While some studies suggest that mental health and academic progress are not significantly correlated, others indicate that mental health issues like anxious, depressed symptoms, thought problems, attention problems, and delinquent behavior can independently impact academic performance negatively. Additionally, they have also given the reference in the superscript. They have given the articles which actually say this. Okay. Additionally, the impact of mental health on academic achievement can be mediated by factors like self-regulated learning, family structure such as being from a single parent family can also influence this relationship, with mental health problems potentially leading to decreased educational aspirations among children. So what I want to say is that you will get a quick, see, any researcher who gets some questions in his mind or her mind, are they related? I am writing my proposal. That time I am writing, I'm thinking that are they really related? What does research say? I'll get a quick kind of a review of that. Let me come back to the other topic. Just a minute. What is the relationship? Do herbal extracts reduce toxicity of snake venom? I'm writing this. This was another study, right? It will try to give me an answer. That was my question. And the artificial intelligence tool is creating an answer for me. See, herbal extracts have shown promising results in reducing the toxicity of snake venom. Studies have highlighted the potential of various plant extracts in neutralizing venomous effects. For instance, research on Indigofera, I don't know what is that, Indigofera hirsuta, demonstrated significant antivenin activity against Naja nigricollis venom. I don't know which one it is, providing scientific evidence support its traditional use in snake bite treatment. Similarly, investigations on Urospatha sagittifolia revealed its ability to modulate Bothrops atrox venom activity, reducing the toxic consequences of envenomation. Envenomation, I don't know what it means. These are all technical terms. I told you concepts are generated in every discipline. They become the technical terms of that discipline. So I'm not from this discipline. So it is not a concept which I know, right? Through enzyme inhibition. And this is the answer. Please remember, if you use the tools which are available, definitely it helps your researcher in doing the research work, because many a time we have questions, we don't know the answer to that question. What is it actually the situation is in terms of research studies? Let me come back to the tool again. I just show you one more paraphraser, for example. Paraphraser is something which does paraphrasing activity. Here is a study I have found. a study of perceived well-being among female private school teachers of Mysore. And there is something about the concept of perceived well-being. This researcher has written. What I am doing, I am trying to select this. I will select this part. Okay. Where is that? Okay. Yeah. I have selected it up to here. I have selected this one. I have copied it. Come back. And I will paste here. I have pasted it, right? Have you seen this? Are you able to see?
Yes, sir, we can
sir.
see.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, sir.
I have pasted it here and
Yes,
I am
sir.
saying paraphrase. I am saying this paraphrase. What it does on the left side, it is giving the original, whatever was the original. And on the right side, I have got the paraphrased version. What has happened is the same thing has been written in a different language. You know, that is what has been done. Many times when we have written something, we are not happy with what we have written. I have written something, one paragraph I have written already. And I'm not really happy with that, right? I want to rewrite that. Instead of trying to spend more time rewriting, I can use a tool of this kind to see whether, and if it is not acceptable to me, I can reject it. I can reject it and ask for a different one. Show me one more. So this is something which helps us in our process of research. This is one tool which I wanted to show you. Let me come back to my presentation. You can see there is another here, Scholar C, Perplexity, Rightful. These are all tools. Let me show you one more and stop here. Scholar C. I will just show you one more. You can actually explore this at your level. Scholar C. Okay. See, this has come, knowledge made simple. There is article summarizer in it. See, you can summarize anything, understand complex research, organize your knowledge. You know, that is what you can do using this. And you can use a free version, but it doesn't have many features. If the library purchases it, if your library has it, or the institution has it, then you get all the different features which the tool has. Similarly, there is one more called Rightful. I'll just show you that also. Rightful. This is the one, Rightful. Abstract generator, paraphrasing tool, Rightful X for word, for overleaf. So if you go to that site, this is academic writing is hard. So what all can be done? See, people, what they have given as reaction. Your software is absolutely fantastic and has been giving me a lot of help during my thesis writing. As a non-native English speaker, I should edit my writing carefully. Like, for example, my mother tongue is Kannada, right? My thesis has to be written in English and I am struggling with it, right? So if that kind of a situation is there also, I use many apps to do. Rightful spots mistakes, others do not. Incredible. You know, these are the kinds of reactions. You can explore these, or you can advise your research scholars to explore these so that the research work becomes a little more appropriate, little more easy. Let me come back to my presentation. Okay. These are the four. I hope you have noted down, right? You can do many things, summarizing, paraphrasing, okay, or reviewing, rewriting. All these things can be done using the artificial intelligence tools. Some common mistakes in literature review. What do students do when they are doing literature review, which we can say that is a mistake? That is what is the thing. lack of focus or clear research objectives. I am doing review of things which are probably not related, things which are unrelated. That is what I do. This is one kind of error. Insufficient synthesis and analysis. Insufficient synthesis and analysis of the literature. Selectively using sources. I'm using only some sources like Google search. I'm doing only Google search, and whatever is available there, I'm using it for review. But there are literature available outside Google search also. There are literature available in the library also. So that is the reason why insufficiency. Failure to cite reference properly. Many times what we do, we will get a relevant research and we have noted down also, but we have forgotten to note down the reference correctly. When we are writing the thesis, this becomes a problem. I have something written down, but I don't know from where I got this. I have not written down from which article I got this, from which thesis I got that, from which book I got this. I have not noted down. You know that when you are writing the reference, it has to be with the APA style. They will ask you to write your references in the APA style. That means all the information, who is the publisher, what is the page number, what is the title of the article, who was the author, in which year it was published. All these informations I might not have noted down. And that is another mistake which students normally do. You should encourage them to maintain a notebook. You should encourage them to please maintain a notebook where whichever reference you have done, suppose today I have reviewed 2 articles. Both the article references I must note down in my notebook so that I can easily get back to them when I am writing my thesis. That is the thing. Okay. Failing to identify the limitations and drawbacks of the previous research. You know, many a times what happens, we will write the research as abstracts. We'll write the abstract. So and so did a study on this and using this methodology or this design, and this was the sample and these are the findings. I mean, it's like an abstract, but I have not done, whether the study was of a high quality. I have not done whether the tool used was appropriate. I have not done whether the sample was appropriate. I'm just writing what did that other person do. It is an abstract actually. Presenting abstracts one after the other does not make a review. You have to review it. You have to actually analyze and synthesize the knowledge which has been generated in these studies. That is what. So there are a few mistakes which students commonly commit, and as a guide, you may have to think how to solve that. Selection of variables is another. What variables to select? There are certain variables which are normally repeated in certain disciplines. They are easy to study. But there are variables which are, and also when I'm taking a new variable, say for example, I'm taking happiness of teachers and the nature of school environment. I want to study these two. Happiness of teachers and the nature of school environment. What I am meaning, the nature of school environment makes a teacher happy or unhappy. This is my argument. I am trying to generate a knowledge of that kind. Is the nature of environment of the school making the teachers more happier, less happier, unhappier, etc. Now, happiness is a variable, I have said. Happiness of the teacher is a variable. I have to define that variable. I have to measure that variable. Now, how do I define operationally that variable? You know what is the meaning of operational definition? Operationally, when I have defined a variable, I can measure that variable easily. Dictionary meaning is something else. Operational definition is something else. What a researcher should provide is the operational definition of that variable. How is it going to be measured? So that kind of a thing has to be thought of when I am selecting the variable itself. Can I measure it? How will I measure it? You know, those kinds of which unit I will measure, which scale I will measure. Will I measure it at the nominal scale level, at the ordinal scale level, at the interval scale level, or at the ratio scale level? At what level I'm going to measure this variable? All these things have to be thought of while selecting the variable itself. Let me go further. After the review, you should encourage your students to develop a concept map. There are so many variables in this, on this theme of research, on this topic of research. Try to review and come out with a concept map showing the relationship between different variables. Something like this, using the arrow. Like in the field of environmental science, there are greenhouse effect is being caused because of fossil fuels. The greenhouse gases create greenhouse effect. You know, the relationships, global warming is caused by greenhouse effect. The climate change is caused by institutions. The climate policy influences food supply. You know, all these things, which as a researcher, I must try to survey my field of research, identify the variables there, and develop a concept map. This will give me a lot of clarity about my topic of research. This will help me in understanding my research more critically. That is what you must encourage when it comes to your students. Choosing research methods. You know, many a times a researcher begins by saying, I'm going to do an experiment. My study will be an experimental study. Or I'm going to study a survey. Why? Because survey is easier. I can develop some tool, use that tool, go to the field and do the survey. Survey becomes easier for me. I mean, I'm thinking of the method first, and then I'm trying to think of a topic. What can I survey? What is it that I will survey? I mean, this is the wrong sequence of happenings in a research. I must think of the topic first, idea first, then think what kind of method is appropriate for studying this. I think that is something which we need to remember. The quantitative method deals with numeric data that is quantifiable, while qualitative research allows researchers to get insights into human behavior, attitudes, opinions, and feelings. So these are two different ways, and it is possible a research study may involve both. Both of them may be required. And this kind of research is called mixed method research. Mixed method research. That is the thing. Okay. About the methodology. You know that methodology consists of a few things. What do you include under methodology? When you are writing methodology of chapter of research, what do you include under this? What are the things included under methodology?
Methods.
Methods of research. Methods of research, okay. Anything else?
Study area.
Area of study. Like for example, Chandrasekhar's study was in Himalayas, no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So Himalayas is the area, or area maybe in terms of the what is
Research
that?
Topic. Research topic.
The topic, that is the biochemistry related area. Yeah. What else?
Sir, it includes all the things that we are searching for, sir, like starting from the area selection of population, if it is with the population, then type of investigations we are going to do. So everything it includes under methodology up to the statistical analysis, sir.
Very good, very good. We will write about the population of this research. That means To which
Yes.
population are we generalizing it?
Yes,
What would be the sample? What will be
Size.
the sampling method?
yes, sir.
Which tool we will use?
Yes.
How will we validate the tool of research?
Inclusive and exclusive criterias.
Yes, yes. And also the data, nature of data and its analysis.
Yes, yes.
That is what is methodology.
Method
What-
of collection of data. Yes, sir.
Yes, yes. What kind of error will take place in this section? That is what I am trying to tell. What errors are committed by research scholars? Population specification is not done.
Yes,
The population is not specified.
yes.
So you must
Yes.
ask, okay, which population are you generalizing it?
Yes,
That is one part. Sampling and sample frame errors. Many a time, I'm saying that my sample is from Mysore district. But then how do I select that sample? How did I select that sample? And what is the frame? Did I have all the units of the sample listed and it was with me or not? Suppose I am saying my sample was random selected, then I must have a sample frame. Without sample frame, I cannot do a random selection of sample. Determining the sample size, how much, normally what happens, if I am doing a survey, I will go and ask my guide, sir, madam, how many people should I give the questionnaire? How many people? Interestingly, sample size can be calculated also online. You can calculate the sample size. I just show you one. Just a minute. I'll go back to my this thing and come and say sample size calculator. I've said sample size calculator. This is SurveyMonkey is giving one, for example. Sample size calculator. See, what it says is you should know what is the population size. What is roughly at least you should know. So suppose I say there are 9,000. I'm studying, say, the university lecturers in Mysore and say, okay, roughly about 9,000 lecturers are there. And which level of confidence, accuracy I want 95% accuracy. 95% I want accuracy. And margin of error can be 95% accuracy means my margin of error is 5. The moment I said this, the sample size calculator says you should take at least 369. You should take at least 369 sample. More than that is fine. If you want to generalize to the 9,000 population, then minimum you should study 369 cases. 369 units have to be taken. So there are available certain tools which you can use in your sample size calculation also. Randomization and random selection. Many a time I have the sample list and the guide says, okay, you do use the random number table and decide the sample. Now, I don't know how to use the random number table. In fact, there are sites which will give me the random number table also. I'll just show you one. I'll go back and say random number table. And it's giving me a random number table here. See, this is the table of random numbers. The table of random numbers. And I should know what is the method of using this. What method I should employ to use this random number table. But otherwise, suppose I just write, I used random number table and selected 369, whatever was available, then I have added error. I have actually added error to my study. Absence of adequate control condition or group. Let me come back to this. Okay. I'll ask Anita madam. Anita madam, you are there, no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you did the ICDS study
Yes, sir.
and you took the schools where ICDS was implemented.
Yes, sir.
And did you take only ICDS schools or did you have a comparison group also?
No, I did not have any comparison, sir. But in my study, what I did was like from the central area, that is the headquarters, I took the year, that is the radius, that is the distance from the headquarters, like 5
Okay.
kilometers, 10 kilometers, and about 15 kilometers. And also I took as 5 years of inception, 10 years, and 15 years of inception, sir. So that was how
Very good, very
I
good,
have
very good.
classified
Very good. It's
my
a single group study where
uh,
all the cases are those which have received ICDS.
yes, sir, beneficiaries of ICDS, sir,
But
like
then-
which includes
But then you
preschool
are
children.
saying,
Yes,
what you are saying is, I also found out whether the dosage makes any difference. You know, when you go to a doctor, the
yes, sir.
doctor says that dosage,
Yes,
take
sir.
3 times a day for 3 days, right?
Yes, yes, sir.
The dosage is, you should take this tablet 3 times a day for 3 days. That is the dosage.
Yes,
And what you did is, you took 5 years ICDS, which was implemented for the last 5 years, last 10 years, last 15 years,
yes,
different dosage.
yes,
Now ICDS is implemented for different durations.
yes,
Will the effect of ICDS be different?
yes, sir.
Now, that kind of a question can be answered
Yes,
when you have taken sample of that kind.
yes,
So necessarily, there are situations where I might do a study on the same ICDS and its effect
yes,
on nutrition, on absenteeism, etc.
yes,
I may do a study, but I take a sample where the students have not received ICDS.
okay,
That means I will take an experimental group and a control group. Experimental group is, I have not done anything. It is the government which has done. The government has given the ICDS program.
yeah,
So that is my experimental group.
yes,
And the control group is one where they have not received
yes, sir.
any ICDS.
Yes,
So by comparing these two, I can say whether there was an effect of the ICDS on the dependent variables.
okay,
So establishing that when you are selecting the variables, the
yes,
equivalence of the variable, adequacy of the control condition, etc., become important. Even when you are selecting a tool also, whether the tool is reliable. Suppose I have developed a questionnaire. Whatever I have written may not be valid. So what I should do is, I should establish the validity and reliability of that tool, right? You have 4 types of validity: content validity, construct validity, concurrent validity, and predictive validity. Depending upon the nature of the tool, I have to establish either content validity or construct validity or concurrent validity or predictive validity. And any literature on research methodology would explain how to establish the validity. Similarly, the reliability. The reliabilities are of 2 kinds: the split half reliability or retest reliability. So what I am saying is, whatever tool I have developed need not be valid and reliable. I must establish that before I collect my data. Before I am collecting the data, I must make sure that the tool which I used was valid and reliable. That is what also sometimes in the methodology students commit errors. Let me come to the data collection and analysis. At this stage, what kind of mistakes get committed? Insufficient introduction and instructions. A student goes to the place where, say, suppose I am doing a household survey. That means I am going from house to house. Like you do know that, what is that population survey is done Then family survey is done before giving the voter identity cards, etc. Or general census is done, census survey is done. So where people are going from one household to another household and collect data. Now what happens is a research scholar might not introduce the study properly, or might not give the instructions to the respondents how to respond. Just has handed over the tool. If it's a questionnaire or an attitude scale, the tool has been just handed over to the respondents and has requested, please fill up this. How to fill up, etc. It is possible that the respondent doesn't know how to fill up. The respondent has interpreted the responses differently and filled it erroneously. So all this adds up to the error. So remember our finding, if it is to be generalized, all these errors will have to be reduced. Whether it is sampling error or measurement error, they all add up to the errors of the study. Lack of verification at the time of data collection. You know what happens is when you have given a tool with some 50 items and the respondents are not very keen to respond. What they have done, some items in between they have left. They have not filled it out. What happens to the researcher? The researcher cannot have the same sample size because on those items, the sample size becomes smaller. Responses are less. So what to do? The researcher then what the researcher decides, okay, let me not include this. Let me not include this questionnaire at all. Let me remove it from the sample. As a result, the sample size becomes small. Suppose I started with that 369 for the 9,000 population. I have gone to 369 people, but because some of the responses were incomplete, my sample size becomes smaller. So what is required? At the time of administering the tool itself, the researcher must be told, please verify whether all the items in the questionnaire, has it been filled? Please check that. If something is not filled, please get it filled from the same respondent. Otherwise, they may not be available to you later. Once you have collected that information and come, suppose, madam said that she visited a few blocks for the data collection. Now, from Mysore, if I have gone to, say, Piriyapatna, that is the farthest block of Mysore, and I have collected my data and come, and I have found that so many questionnaires, they have not filled completely. I cannot keep going again and again to that place. That is the reason why verification at the time of data collection is important. You should verify whether all have responded or not. Lack of control over respondent behavior. A research scholar is a youngster. Many times, the research scholar has to go and meet people who are in the high offices. They are officers in the government. They are teachers in the school. They are lecturers in the colleges. Now, what happens is that the researcher has no control over the respondent behavior. They may be talking to each other while filling the response sheet. They may be discussing with each other. All these things adds to the errors in the measurement. Improper conduct of an interview. Interview also has to be conducted in a manner in which the data is gathered properly. That is the reason why the interview must be standardized. The guide must ask the student, show me how you will interview. I am your respondent. Conduct your interview on me. Then it is possible to correct. If there is something which the interviewer is doing, which should not get repeated while collecting the data, then corrections can be done. Similarly, incomplete response to the item, that is what I mentioned earlier, not testing for normality at the time of analysis. I'm using t-test, I'm using z-test, I'm using f-test, but I have not tested the sample for normality. I have not tested. You know that each of these tests have assumptions. These parametric tests can be administered, can be done only if the data is normally distributed. I did not test the normality at all. Whatever data was there, I have conducted the t-test. I have conducted the chi-square test. I have conducted the f-test. That is an error. It is improper use of statistics. Excessive preference for parametric statistics over non-parametric statistics. You know, you hardly find non-parametric alternatives. If t-test is not possible, then what is my alternative? My alternative is Mann-Whitney U. Mann-Whitney U test, which is a non-parametric test, which does not assume normality. It can be done on any kind of sample. That is my better alternative. I'm only concerned with parametric statistics, not the non-parametric. That should not happen. Error in selection of test of inference. Where t-test is appropriate, I have conducted z-test. Where z-test is appropriate, I have conducted chi-square test. So these kinds of errors, one must, and nowadays what happens is, people go to statisticians. They will give the data and request the statistician, please analyze this data and give me. The statistician will ask you what was your hypothesis, and will give you a whole result, so many tables, and it becomes a problem for the researcher to interpret these tables. That is another thing that happens in our context. Use of more than one significance level. If there are many hypotheses, if suppose the first hypothesis I have tested at 0.05 level, that means 5% error. The second hypothesis, I should also test at the same level. Even if my finding shows that it was significant at 0.01 level, my selection has to be only 0.05. I must consistently keep that level of significance as constant. That is another error which students normally do. Lastly, I will stop after this. How to select which one is the appropriate statistical analysis. Both parametric and non-parametric methods are given here. Suppose I want to describe one group. I want to describe one group, something like Anita Madam's study, where she has only ICDS students, only one group. All students have received ICDS, only one group. The description of that group in statistical term can be done if it is parametric using mean, standard deviation, standard error of mean, and critical interval. Whereas if I am using non-parametric, I can use median and range. Please remember, they are not alternatives. They cannot be exchanged. Mean is used where mean is appropriate, median is not appropriate. Where median is appropriate, mean is not appropriate. So I must know when is mean appropriate, when is median appropriate. Compare one group to another, a hypothetical value. Comparing only single group, but I want to compare it to a hypothetical group. Suppose Anita Madam says that the nutrition level which she is studying should be at a particular level. Nutrition level is fixed. And I want to find out how many children are above that nutrition level. Then it is one sample t-test. It is a one sample t-test which is appropriate if it is parametric. If it is non-parametric, then Wilcoxon test. Suppose I am not able to say it is normally distributed. My sample is normally distributed. But I have data. I have sample. Then I may go for Wilcoxon test. That is the alternative. Suppose I want to compare two groups. In Anita Madam study, if there is ICDS group and non-ICDS group, two groups are there. And if I want to do a parametric analysis, then I go for two sample unpaired t-test. unpaired. They are independent.
Sir, just a
Independent sample.
small this
And-
question, sir.
Yes,
Like
Yes,
in
ma'am.
my case itself, suppose I have taken two components. I said one is the year of inception and the other one is the distance which is there. So in such cases, what type of the
analysis.
statistics?
It is a
Yeah.
time series analysis.
Okay.
At
Huh.
times, you have observed
Hmm.
the sample
Yeah.
after 5 years, one time, after 10 years, another time, after 15 years, another
Yes.
time.
Yes. Yes.
So it is a time series analysis.
And what about the distance from the headquarters, sir? Each
The
dis-
distance from, it is
Head-
based on your reasoning as to why distance is important.
because just to give you a brief account of it, see, suppose if it is too far, the conveyance is limited over there, and naturally, whatever the government is supplying may not be reaching over there.
Very good.
It need not be
I
just the
thought
food
so,
that is
actually,
being.
Anita madam, I thought so. I thought so. You are very
Even the
intelligent.
medical facilities is not being
You are very
provided, sir.
intelligent. You are saying that the headquarters, from the headquarters, if a school
Yes.
is very far away, and
Yeah.
sometimes it is possible that transportation might not reach there.
Yes, sir.
It's
Yes,
a good
sir.
observation. Good observation.
That-
Basically, what you are doing is
Yeah.
you are taking the distance as the variable here.
Yes.
Distance is a variable. So what you expect is that the first distance, there should be more effect.
Yes.
Second distance, there should be moderate effect.
Yes.
Third distance, it should be minimum effect.
Yes, sir.
Now, again, it is a time series.
Hmm.
The time series design that you are
Yes.
employing. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, let me come to the last one. Suppose I am comparing 3 or more groups. I don't have 2 groups. I have 3 or more groups and I want to compare them. Then it is one-way analysis of variance, which is a parametric statistics. Whereas crystal Wallace test is a non-parametric test, which is appropriate. Please remember, these parametric, non-parametric alternative, I will decide only after testing the normality. I have to test the normality. If it is normal, I will go for parametric test. If it is non-normal,